CD change. Teaching them 5 of those CDs to be changed. I think we're a lot of changing. Bruce's.
I remember this.
Bruce's greatest hits was one of them. So awesome. Yeah, we were excited to get it. So special.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. My dad and my mom saw him back in 20 years ago. You could see it in college, 2,000 people, and so it was special.
Yeah, because you had that first time for you.
Yeah. Had you seen him before?
I had seen him before, but I got it. But my wife is the one who like music.
Oh, really?
And she hadn't seen it. So she was in some ways jealous because a friend of mine had tickets. Took me like 10 years ago. Well, she hadn't seen it. Like, oh, I wonder if yeah, it's like, yeah, we took her sister who's 16 years older than my wife.
Oh, no way.
So it's just big old fair for all.
Oh, I couldn't believe it. Like 3
I
and a
know.
half hours.
It's going.
He's a machine.
He is.
He's a machine. My dad, though, in the beginning was like, I guess that's the message in this video.
Well, this is sort of great.
Yeah, as it is. Yeah, exactly. But I thought he did a great job.
I thought he did. He didn't jump like he didn't jump up and down on his knees.
Yep.
Slide across the
None of that.
stage. But I don't think I would expect you to.
Yeah.
That's fine. Well, that's good. You came from Washington.
They're originally from the East Coast.
Oh, okay.
My dad,
Really
my dad got into Gonzaga Law School.
Oh, okay.
My mom did a master's in teaching up there. And so that's where I was born and raised. That's where we were so at.
Got it.
Luckily, once my baby sister just had a baby.
Wow.
And she's in Seattle.
It's there. I mean, like even
It's not too
like for me.
Yeah.
But the issue
You've been doing some traveling?
We've been up. My son's graduating from college. This weekend. Volleyball.
Okay.
So we went up to 3 days. He's at Menlo College,
Menlo.
right outside of, right next to campus.
Okay.
It's 1,000 person arts program. Yeah, business program.
We do training on that.
Yeah.
Should I?
They played Stanford. They
Oh, no way.
got whooped again.
We do that.
Well, they play everybody. They play this the men's volleyball division in college. So they have a lot of teams. He's playing this team for UCLA. He played in UCLA. Yeah, that game is about when they're not at college.
Yeah.
But these guys, UCLA is number 1 in the nation right now. So he's lucky to.
You mentioned getting my photograph.
Yeah, they got whooped by the rest of the guys, and then they got whooped by Stanford. No, you mean those Navy beat? Oh no, I didn't. I heard about it. Was it good? Yeah.
So just scanning.
Friday.
Are you?
But text them.
Yeah, come here. His daughter.
We did a college visit with Utah when we were in Salt Lake City. That was quite curious to see what kind of program, what colleges do for the volleyball program. Some of the big programs that they're capable of. I understand.
Yes, I felt the same way, but it's different. It's an adult coach.
Yeah, same. I felt the same way. You guys are athletes.
Yeah, I have lots of stories about that. So my family lived in Salt Lake City when I was 5. For a couple years. We got five. Yeah, we got 5. So, yeah, and we're not aligned well. But yeah, so I understand.
Yeah.
Well, that's a big. Is it the big tournament? I forget what it's called.
The Salt Lake City show. Not they're like in a 7-year competition.
Oh, nice. That's fun.
Yeah, it is gonna be fun.
I'm getting out. Senior night, I think I'm done. I mean, although my son's gonna play in the UK now. But, you know, he's gonna go to his master's. Probably so long.
How's everything?
Okay. How you doing? Pretty well?
Okay, it is 5:16. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. And first we'll do a roll call. Tuan,
Here.
great. Michael
Here.
and Miles here. Still arriving. And Geronimo and is not present at this moment. All right. The first action item is to approve the agenda for tonight, 1.2. I'll take a motion.
On motion. Second.
Okay. No discussion. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. That's 3-0. All right. Now moving to the Pledge of Allegiance. And I think we have a student that's going to help us today with the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Yes. Please come on up. You can come to the podium.
Visible with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Jessica. I think we will hear a little bit more about you later tonight. So thank you for making the Pledge of Allegiance for us. We appreciate it. Okay, now we're going to go to public comment and let's, I don't think there's any public comment.
No, we don't have any public comments here in person today.
Okay, and we can go out and poll and see that everybody's online and if there's public comment at the other sites.
Yes. Vista Charter Middle School, are there any public comments?
There are no public comments.
Vista Horizon Global Academy, are there any public comments?
No public comments.
Palm Lane Global Academy, are there any public comments?
No public comments.
Vista Meridian Global Academy, are there any public comments?
No public comments.
Vista Lago Global Academy, are there any public comments?
No public comments.
That concludes the public comments.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, we're moving on to the consent agenda, item 2, that carries 2.1, 2.2. And if I, yeah, and 2.2, and 2.3. So I'll take a motion on the consent agenda.
Motion. A second.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion, anything? Okay, all in favor of the consent agenda? Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay, that's 3-0, that passes. All right, great. That gets us to the 3 information discussion for the superintendent's report. Dr. Felch.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. We only have 7 weeks left in the school year. It is quickly coming to an end, but there is still a lot to accomplish in the final 7 weeks of the school year. So we are going to start with our celebrations and beginning with our certificated employee of the month, which is Miss Chelsea Hong from Vista Horizon. And I'm not sure if she's able to be on the Zoom or not. I know she was in transit. So I'm going to share some words from Mr. Benavides, her principal, that he wrote about her. I would like to nominate Miss Chelsea Hong for Employee of the Month. This month's spotlight shout out is for our outstanding teacher leader, Miss Chelsea. She consistently supports new teachers and provides valuable professional development on topics such as grading systems, report cards, and classroom management. Thank you for your strong leadership and for ensuring our staff has the tools they need and the support that they need to succeed in the teaching profession. We are truly fortunate to have you on our team and grateful for your willingness to share your knowledge and experience with new teachers. Thank you for everything that you do, and congratulations. So congratulations to Ms. Hong, and I'd also like to share that in the iReady learning walks that we did, and I'll talk about those a little more later on in the superintendent's report. We observed Ms. Chelsea's class, and it was just an incredible observation. Pretty much everything that we would expect to see, we saw, and more. So congratulations to Ms. Chelsea, and thank you for everything that you do. Next, we are excited to celebrate our classified employee of the month, which is Miss Yolanda Diaz, who is here today. Miss Yolanda is Condor and Heritage's office manager, so she definitely has her hands full with 2 schools. And she had not one, not two, but 3 staff members nominate her this month. So first, Miss Reyes, who is a Heritage teacher, said she's fantastic. She's always incredibly helpful and maintains a positive attitude. Mr. Flores, who is Condor and Heritage's after school coordinator, said, I would like to nominate Yolanda Diaz, our office manager. During her first full year, she has demonstrated strong leadership and professionalism. She has taken ownership of her role and continues to be approachable and supportive to everyone. And lastly, Miss McHugh, one of the Condor teachers, said, from TA to office manager, Yoli has easily adapted into our point of contact for Condor and Heritage. She is really the heart and soul for all of us and a key reason why Vista feels like family. Congratulations, Miss Yolanda. And for our parent of the month, she came all the way from LA to be here this evening. So I'd like to recognize Miss Maria Salas Solis, who is a Vista Charter Middle School parent. And these are some words from Mr. Summer, Vista Charter Middle School's principal. Maria has been a staunch Vista advocate for years. She attends all Coffee with the Principal meetings, volunteers for ELAC and PAC, helps organize events, and stays in constant communication with our school. She has been the #1 fundraiser for the past 4 years during our chocolate sales. Recently, at Coffee with the Principal, we had some new parents attend, and during a Kagan structure, she left her friend group to ensure that the new people felt part of the team. Additionally, she has raised money from the community to bless the families of our recent deceased student. We are blessed to have her as part of the Vista family. Thank you, Maria. Yes, yeah, if you'd like to say some words.
Just want to thank you guys. You guys been my family for past 4 years. First was Miss Amaya as my director, and then Mr. Summers. You guys been a bless for me growing up with you guys and my kids, and you guys have advocated not just for me, for all of us. And like you said, in order for us to grow, we have to grow as a family. And I consider you guys my family. And thank you so much for supporting my kids. You guys are great. And hopefully we keep doing good for all of us and for everybody to be good. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And in just a moment, the board will come down. We'll take some photos, and we also have some goodies to share with you. We have one more person that we'd like to honor, which is Jessica Ayala Cortez. Jessica is an 11th grader at Vista Meridian. She was recently accepted into the Stanford University Intensive Law and Trial Summer Program. And this is an incredible opportunity for an incredible student. Jessica will be, or she is here today, but that's not the only reason. Like we're here to celebrate her, but also this opportunity comes with a price tag, and so she has received a scholarship that will help, but she still has a significant portion of the cost that if anybody here would like to help with that, I think it's about 4,500 is left over. So any and all donations would be more than welcome. And Jessica, if you would like to share any words with the board and about the program, please feel free.
I'll make it quick, but hello, good evening, everybody. My name is Jessica Ayala Cortez, and I am a junior here at Vista Meridian, and I was invited to attend the Envision Intensive Law and Trial program that is in collaboration with Stanford Law for the summer. In this program, I will be taught by Stanford professors and gain the confidence and skill for my future career choice, which, if not obvious already, is law. Being a part of this program will not only help me experience college life by living in a dormitory, but also practice my public speaking skills, standing in front of a judge, and being able to build a case with students from all over the country. I will be able to dive deeper into the world of law, furthering my understanding of what it truly means to be a lawyer. My dream since the fourth grade is to be a lawyer, but it wasn't until middle school when I had a project over how my life would be like in my then dream future career, and at the time I didn't really know much about the different types of lawyers, just that I really wanted to be one. When I was asked what kind of lawyer, I researched the different kinds, and that's when I saw immigration law, and I knew right then and there that was for me. Growing up in Santa Ana, I was surrounded by immigrants who have helped me grow into the person I am today. Being raised by immigrants whose dreams that I will be able to experience things like this very program, and I was taught to fight for my happiness, and my happiness is to give back to the people who sacrificed to give me everything. Law is not just a career for me, it is the only way I feel that is worthy to repay those people who helped me accomplish my dream. And Envision is not just a summer program for me, it is a chance to live the dream that I am actively in pursuit of. When I saw the price of the tuition, I felt like my world was upside down. I felt upset knowing that something that could not only benefit my future, but be a blessing to experience, was only in my hands for a second, but was soon drifted away. I once heard you can't get help without asking for it, so I reached out to my support system that I have in school, and that is when I asked Ms. Young and Ms. Quintanilla, thanks for their support, and help filling out the financial aid that is offered, and in help in writing letters to organizations, law firms, and corporations to help sponsor the cost. Dr. Felch, I feel like saying thank you is too small to describe my gratitude towards you. I appreciate you not only for believing in me, but because of your generosity, I am able to secure my spot at Envision and taking the weight not only of my shoulders, but of my family's. This has meant everything to me, knowing that Envision will not only be an experience that I will cherish for the rest of my life, but knowing that I have an incredible amount of support from the people around me. Thank you for helping my dreams come true. While Dr. Spelch's generosity has made a significant impact on my goal, I am still actively seeking support from my community to help cover the remaining costs. Contribution at any level will not only make a meaningful difference, but bring me one step closer to my goal. This is not just a donation, but an investment in a future lawyer that will come from Vista Chartered Global Academies. I appreciate everything from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Jessica. And if anybody would like to make a donation in any amount, you can follow up with myself, Mr. Prano, or Dr. Rial, and we'd be happy to make sure it gets to Jessica. And with that, I'd like to invite the board up for some photos with our employees of the month, our parent of the month, and with Jessica. All right. That really is the best part of our job here, is really recognizing and celebrating our students, staff, and parents. We are going to move on with the superintendent's report and really focus on the 3 pillars of our strategic plan, which is accelerating learning, moving as one, and paving the path. And over this past month, a lot has been going on. In the Accelerate Learning priority, as I mentioned before, we conducted iReady Math learning walks and saw some really amazing things, both in LA as well as in Orange County. Really focused around math and using the Try, Discuss, Connect framework. We saw a lot of evidence of cooperative learning and academic discourse through our observations. We saw the use of student work in the strategies, positive classroom culture. The curriculum was in use at 100% of the classrooms that were observed. There was a lot of math vocabulary, anchor charts, and we also saw really good evidence of productive struggle in the classrooms. So hats off to the schools and the teachers that we observed, and to the principals for continuing the great work. We just met Jessica and heard about the Stanford Summer Program. In addition to Jessica, we also had a 10th grade student at Vista Meridian, Angel Cruz Gutierrez, who was recently accepted to the UC San Diego Cosmos Summer Program, where he will be participating in the Engineering, Design, and Control of Kinetic Sculptures cluster. So also very excited for Angel. And Mr. Prano, is there also a cost associated with that needs help being covered? He got covered. Okay, so he got covered fully. So any and all donations for Jessica would be greatly appreciated. In addition, want to highlight the fact that as we speak right now, our Heritage 6th graders are out in Big Bear in science camp. So that is very, very exciting, and really excited to hear back after they come back. And one thing that I didn't put on the slide, and I don't want to take Board President Durfee's thunder, but earlier this month he was able to visit a number of our schools and walked some classrooms with Miss Amaya and our leadership, and was able to engage with students and staff and gain a deeper understanding of the instructional program at Condor, Heritage, and Meridian. So I'm sure later on he will probably share more about that. Looking at the Move as One priority, Earth Day is 2 days away, and Earth Day is the third and final organizational-wide cultural celebration that all of our schools are doing. So I know that our Global Teacher Leadership Network, composed of teacher leaders from each of our schools, have been actively planning these activities for months now, and really excited to highlight a few things that we're looking forward to. For example, Palm Lane is going to have a whole day agenda with a number of guest speakers, and Palm Lane is going to be hosting an Earth Day or Arbor Day celebration with the city of Anaheim, which will include a tree planting at the front of the school. So just a few examples of the Earth Day activities that are going to be happening at each of our schools. Also, one way that our students were moving as one, quite literally, Vista Lago just had a mile run event, and they hosted the 100-mile club this past week. And students, we've actually been tracking how many miles many of our students have been running during PE throughout the entire year, and some of our students are actually up to 75 miles that they have run during this school year, really making sure our students are active, learning healthy habits, and the goal ultimately is to get to that 100-mile mark. But it was beyond just the running. It was really great to see how the community came together for this event. There were other students. Lago has some of the greatest cheerleaders in TK kinder and first grade who love cheering for the older kids, and also the parents. There was incredible parent turnout for this event to just not only cheer on their students, but cheer on every single student who was running that. And I also want to spotlight Vista Charter Middle School and Mr. Summer, who was spotlighted in the recent LACO newsletter for their incredible work around community schools. The article is titled Vista Charter Middle School, a model community school where connections matter. And it really highlighted how Vista Charter Middle School is reducing chronic absenteeism through building relationships, doing things like the Ohana Days that Vista Charter Middle School has been doing for a while, and also its work with PBIS and much, much more. So congratulations to Mr. Summer and the entire Vista Charter Middle School team. And finally, as we turn the corner and pave the path, want to just share a quick update. We have been conducting interviews. We actually just were conducting a few interviews earlier today with some Condor and Heritage principal candidates. And the hope is that at the next board meeting, we would love to have a candidate to share with the board. So we're very hopeful that come the next board meeting that we have some great news to share on that front. Also want to share some other updates. First, regarding Meridian's facilities. So we last meeting we did hear a public comment from one of the Meridian parents. I want to share that I can't go into too much detail in public just around facilities negotiation due to the sensitivity of that topic. However, broadly speaking, we are working on multiple fronts, and this is at the forefront of our mind, making sure that we do have a good long-term facility plan for Vista Meridian. I do want to share with the board that I was able to meet with Mr. Vasquez and discuss this in more depth since the last board meeting. And also this Friday, I am planning to be present with Mr. Proano and Ms. Ross at the Coffee with the Principal, where we will be going or discussing this more with Meridian parents. The goal is to be as transparent as possible and also work with our families in partnership to make sure that we can find that permanent home that we all desire for Meridian. Next thing I'd like to talk about just a little bit is salaries and a budget update. I know that Arturo is going to talk a little bit more about the budget, but last week it was hard to avoid the news regarding LUSD, the strike and the budget that was all around that. So I did want to make sure that I do address that. In terms of what that means for Vista, Arturo, myself, Ms. Amaya, we've been meeting weekly and really going through some scenarios to see what kind of budgetary impacts different scenarios would have. With all of that said, we really need to wait for the governor's May revision that is going to come out next month, mid-May, because that will give us a really good idea of the level of funding that we expect to receive next year. And then at that point, we can determine any decisions in terms of salaries and budget for next year. So just wanted to share that because I know that might be on some people's minds. And lastly, wanted to share some enrollment updates in terms of where each of our schools are at this point for next year. And also looking at where we were at in the closest comparison last year. So the closest comparison, still about 2 weeks away. It was May 5th of last year. That's when we had our the closest board meeting to this point. And you can see that many of the schools are at a very similar point to where they were at last year. There are a few schools that are either significantly above or significantly below where they're currently at. And then I'll do a caveat with Vista Lago because last year was its first year. So even though it's very similar, going first year to second year is a little different when it comes to recruitment and enrollment, but they're still at a good place. So I'll leave it at that, and turn it back over, and there might be some questions, and happy to answer those.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Felt. Questions from board members? Any questions? Comments?
No, first, I think that was a fabulous superintendent's report. Just to let you know, I really appreciate the stuff that we talked about last time that you brought back up. It's really great to see these enrollment numbers in comparison and just instead of where we're currently at. It's super, super helpful. So thank you. It's also really great to know that you're doing the iReady walks and that you're seeing a lot of great consistent practices. One of the questions I have is, given iReady's such a big deal for like personalized learning, right? Students get on the computers, meets them where they're at. I'm curious, do we have any data from students in terms of iReady and like their experience on whether what they see valuable, what they see as a challenge? Curious if that's going to be taken into any account when we think about programming and where to really, because it takes so much student investment, right? You want to have consistent practices across your classrooms, which just seems like it happens. I'm just curious, do we have any data from students in terms of their iReady experience?
I did, go ahead.
Oh, just for clarification, are you asking about like engagement data? How much time are they, or like qualitative data?
I
as
think
to
I think I'm asking qualitative data, right? In terms of just, you know, I work in education. We're doing iReady a lot of times, asking students about how's iReady going? What do you think iReady's for? What's challenging? We've surfaced a lot of really strong like insights from students, and I'm just curious if the district's taking any opportunity to do that, because sometimes the students aren't aware of why they're doing iReady, right? Or you know, there's just some opportunities I think that we could gather specifically because that's such a self-driven platform where students can really grow if they're invested in it. So it was a curiosity. I know that you guys shared student survey data last time. It's just wondering if you are and if there's any opportunity.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't have anything like that.
Yeah.
I don't know that we've collected it. I can check in with the principals to see if they have, and if not, it's something that we can definitely look into. I know that our students engage in data chats on a regular basis with teachers, and then they have the student-led conferences. So iReady and their progress does become a part of those conversations.
Great.
But I'm not sure like how much like perception data we've gathered. So that would be something.
Yeah, and it's just it's something to consider. Again, I wanted to, you're doing the iReady walks, you're doing a lot of amazing things. Just in terms of when you do survey students, sometimes surveying them on your programs, right? In terms of, I know what iReady's for. You know what I mean? Like iReady helps me learn. Those sorts of questions might be helpful to guard.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just looking at the slide about the number of new students enrolled, and just at the comparison around this time last year and this year, and maybe this is obvious, but just to me, I see it's much higher up in Vista Meridian Global, but then Vista Charter Middle School, you know, we see a drop compared to last year. So if there's a specific reason.
Yeah, and I'll invite others to chime in if needed. I can tell you that the way that was calculated, so on Friday, Mr. Z sent me both the new Power School enrollees, so any new enrollees from outside of Vista, combined with any matriculated intent to return. So, for example, any Condor fifth graders that intend to return to Heritage in sixth grade and yada yada at some other school. So that's how those numbers were calculated. In terms of anything else, if again, I don't want to put anyone on the spot, but yeah, we can also follow up afterwards if needed.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anything?
For the Condor and Heritage principal hiring, were there any internal candidates that applied?
No internal candidates. We did open it up to internal candidates, but there were no internal candidates that were interested.
Okay. Yeah, I also wanted to echo the attendance data that we saw. The enrollment data that we saw was very helpful to see where we are on attendance year over year. It looked like we've seen good improvement year over year on attendance rates, and so Thanks to the diligence of the leadership team to make sure that we've continued to focus on that. I believe it's intentional personally, not just a better flu season. So I know that people are out there working hard. I also saw it, I'm continuing to be interested on our attendance clerks at Vista Heritage and Condor versus some of our other schools, because I know there are some differences in how we're staffing the attendance position throughout the district. So I was looking at that to see what that looked like as well. So thank you for that data. It's very helpful year over year to see, and the enrollment data as well. I hope we will continue to evolve our learnings from that data and our system of capturing that information, because when I hear the matriculation being calculated into the numbers, I don't know if that gives us apples to apples everywhere. And so it gets a little bit hard for us to try to gauge that data. So we almost need another category for that. But I'm super thrilled to see that we already have the data and we can do the comparison and give us a sense of how we're doing in our organization. So thanks for that. And I'll talk a little bit about my visits at the board comments section. I'll hold it for that, but I appreciate had a great time, so I'll tell more about that. Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Anything we missed? Okay. Okay, now moving on to 3.2 principals report. Thank you all for the principal reports. I think we have Dan up tonight from Mr. Charter Middle.
Hello, bosses. Hello, board. So I want to take a moment to address the attendance. It's lower than it actually is. The reason is a lot of our parents really struggle with technology, and our online form is the only way we have that. So we have to kind of do that manually. A lot of times parents are like, I don't know how to do this online. So we have them come in, they fill it out, and then we have to do that. So we have to have a better system for updating that on our end, and we'll work on that. So that's the reason for that. That's enrollment. Enrollment. Thank you for listening. Yeah, I meant enrollment. So awesome. So thank you for being here. On my board report, you'll see a new little line, and this is a line that we use at every single one of our meetings. So when I first became principal, and I had Mr. Enoch as my assistant principal and Jay as my intervention coordinator, we came together and we're like, we have to really come up with a way to make sure it's not just us doing the education. It can't be just us. And so we came up with this idea of we are a team. We are a team. And we tell the parents, somos un equipo. Every single time we see parents, every phone call I make, every time we see them, we're messaging this. And we believe it's not just the school. It's not just the parents. It's the school, the parents, and the community. When we all work together, great things happen. And so that's going to be kind of the theme for our board report today. So educating the whole child. So one thing that we really, and that's Mara in that picture. There you go, Mara. One thing we really want to make sure that we do is we educate their mind, their body, their spirit. And so a few things that we've done. So the quote there says, people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you make them feel. And so at Vista, we really want to make sure that students feel part of the team so that they're willing to learn. In Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the first thing is physiological needs, the next one is safety. Kids feel safe when they're part of a team. So we've done a few things. Last month, we took a group of 24 people, 12 students, 12 adults, and we went and did the Tough Mudder. Tough Mudder is a 5 mile, well, it's 3 miles, but we got lost, so it turned into 5. It was a 5 mile run through the mud. You get electrocuted, and you see that one picture on the bottom right. That's called the Mud Mile. It's basically just 100 yards of just like 6-foot trenches, and you just have to lift each other up. You can't complete it without a team. It's impossible. And so getting a lot of our boys who are really excited to do it, getting them out there, getting them to do something they've never done before, it was amazing. It was a really great time. Even Miss Medina came. She was sick. I think she had bronchitis, but she still made it. But it was a great time again. And what we teach our students at Vista is gear, grit, empathy, accountability, and respect. And this is a way to show them you can physically do this. A lot of times in school, they think we can't do this. Yes, you can. If you can do this, you can do a math problem. And it's really how like you do one thing well, it transfers to something else. So we really want to push our kids physically to do well because that helps them mentally and emotionally. And then we also had our Vista Ohana, and this one was called Vista Ohana in full color. I was really talking about how we're different, but yet we're all in the same family, same team. And at the end of the day, we had Alyssa showed up and Mara showed up, and we had our Holy Festival, which we were throwing the powder up, and the kids were having a great time. But the most important part there is when we sit in council, we share stories, and that makes the kids feel emotionally connected. And then, like Colin said, we got noticed because we were doing all these things. We had this decrease in chronic absenteeism. They got a call from Lakeland like, hey, what are you doing? And so I just started telling them like, this is amazing. This is so good. This is stuff that we want schools to do, and you guys are doing it. So they did a little write up on our school. And the thing that just kept coming up is like, this is not a me thing. This is a we thing. Like, we have to do this together. Everything, when it comes to Vista Ohana, that's not me. That's all of us. When it comes down to like building relationships, I can't be with all the kids at all the times. It has to be a mindset that the staff has. So we believe in making those connections, which then translates to data and growth. So this is our big, oh, it's the wrong one, but it's supposed to, yeah, this is just D2 to D3, end of year, from middle year to end of year. And we have growth across all grade levels. So in math and ELA, we have gone up. Now, it's not to the point where we want it to be yet, and we have certain things that we're doing to really kind of bolster that. We started Latera tutoring, and we've seen some great growth with that at Horizon. And so we've started partnering with them as well, and we're really starting to focus on that as well. And then professional growth. Again, we're a team. So we came back from spring break. First thing we did when we got back, teachers are they're not like, yes, let's go back to work. But when we get there, we need to get them excited. So we always do what we call team building. And you'll see it up in the picture. We have, again, Mara is there again. Mara's in the background doing some of our team building with us. That's called the Oreo Unicorn. And the other one, Jaquel had to put some Vaseline on her nose and get some cotton balls and like do a bunch of things. So a bunch of fun things that gets people really building that team. After that, we then dove into our data. We dove into our instruction and really saying, what are we doing? What kind of question types are there on the SBA that we can make sure that we're doing this? Again, this is not me up in front telling them all these things. The pictures down below are them working in their content teams. This is what they need to do. They have objectives and they work together to really make the difference in that way. So again, it's that idea of being a team. And then again, this is a great part. We had our first community kitchen. So family is a big part of the team. So we have a partnership with the food bank in our area called World Harvest. We got some food from them, and our community school coordinator, Tony Serpas, he invited parents in, and one of the mothers named Maria Chavon, she made her recipe called chicken guisado, right? Pollo guisado. Pollo guisado. And we had great conversations about what different types of chilies there are, and it was a great time. So parents came together, made the food, ate together, and then they sat in council and shared stories about food and how that was important in culture and in their lives. Again, building that team. And then we also partnered with Kelly Lay. Kelly Lay used to be a board member here. She's with Grades of Green. We started working with them this year, and this past week, we came together and we built a community garden. And we had this big patch of dirt, of ugly dirt that's been there for, I don't know, 20 years, 15 years. And we finally able to do it. So we dug out all the old stuff, put in these little, I don't know what you call those, cinder block things, and planted a reusable garden. So we're looking to really kind of grow that. So building the community. And then we also did that on the weekend. So teachers got students excited, came in on a weekend with families, and it was really a great time. And then, so LACO highlighted us for our growth in attendance. And this past month, we've had amazing attendance. Last week, our ADA was 97%. I don't think it's ever been that high. And this month, it's been up to 94. So it's going in the right direction. Kids are being excited to be there. I don't know if coming back from spring break had anything to do with that. Maybe parents are sick of having them at home, but we had a lot of kids who started coming. So it was really good to see that positive trend of kids coming to school. And then I'm going to give, again, part of our team, right? We had a lot of growth on our iReady data, in particular in ELA. And I think a lot of that has to do with Jaquel Bell. Jaquel Bell is our new instructional coach who gets to really focus in deep dive with the teachers and collaborate. And even in this picture back here, she's in the picture in the bottom left, working with the teachers. So again, this is not a me thing, this is a we thing. Everybody who's part of our team contributes because they care, they're passionate, and they want to make a difference in the kids' lives, not just in grades, but also in the person. So that is my board report. Thank you all.
Principal Sum.
Thank you.
Questions, comments, anything?
Yes, I have time. I I really want you to know when I look through this, like this is what we've spoken before, but like this is what a great school should be. And I think that the recognition that you got from LACO is really well deserved. Just really grateful for you and your leadership because I know that you said this in your last report. It seems true to who you are. Somos un equipo, it's not me, but I also want you to know that it takes a leader to guide that and lead that with vision. So I also want to just recognize you, right, for your leadership. You can't do all this, right?
Right.
By yourself, but you also can't do this without great leadership. And so want you to like just take a moment and appreciate you, right, for that leadership. But it's really special what you have going on.
Thank
and
you.
the data showing your growth in attendance proofs in the pudding, right? And kids showing up. Question for the board and us, right? As you talk about we are a team, what's something that maybe you wish or that we can do from the board's lens to help carry this cause forward?
Yeah, and so something that I'm working on Mara gave me some great points in this is like really start going outward. So I focus a lot of my time and energy in school. It's really hard for me to leave campus because the school is important to me. So if you know places for me to either connect with people or people that can come, you bring them to us because that's much easier for me. That's great. Just connections, more and more connections. We have a lot of community partners, but we want to continually branch out and really get out there. With something we didn't highlight this time is our music program. That's a phenomenal music program. So people that you know that might be interested in music, that kind of stuff. So partnerships that you can bring in would really be benefit.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Yeah, I just wanted to congratulate you. It's such a wonderful presentation, and I'm looking at all the colorful pictures and the Ohana Day. So yeah, it's like kind of concur with the same. This is kind of the exciting school that I would want to be in, and yeah, also congratulations on the really high attendance rate. So it's really great. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
I'll just quickly say, you feel it when you're on your campus. I've had the ability to be there a number of times now, and the culture you're building as a team is evident. And I think the results of that are shown in your report. I know there's always areas of growth, challenges, and I'm super excited to hear you're trying to branch out. People need to hear the story about the chronic absenteeism. So it's great to see LA County Office of Ed seeing that because it's not being done everywhere. And it is really making people feel cared about. And that's what you get when you walk in the door at Vista Charter Middle School. And I think I saw somewhere, you can distinguish different schools by when you walk in the door. And from the moment you walk in the door at Vista Charter Middle School and many of our schools, to be frank, people welcome you, they smile, they ask you how they can help you. We have great parents. but
Yo hablo.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah. See, and I admire that because I'm still learning. So, but yes. But anyway, I do think that those are the stories we need to share, and I'm glad to hear that the external part of it is on your plate because we need to do that, not just because we need to tell our story, but because we do need to connect with the community. And I tell a story about principals feeling like an island because there's so much to do on your site that you can't get off the island, and that's where everything is happening. So thanks for the report and thanks for all the evidence of that and continue the challenges. 7 weeks, I heard, right? 7 weeks.
I'm not counting.
I know it doesn't stop. It doesn't stop then.
No.
So anyway, thank you.
Thank you for being part of our team.
Okay, Arturo.
It's really hard to follow the principal presentations here with numbers. So,
and now for the
bear
budget.
with me. Yeah, now for the budget. Exactly. Okay. Good evening to everybody. Good to see everyone. We're going to cover February 2026 financials, and I do want to touch base really quickly on budgets for next year. So we have started working on those with the principals, looking at staffing, looking at very conservative enrollment numbers to kind of start off with, driven by Dr. Felch. For example, one of the schools are looking at enrollment that's actually lower than where they're currently at this year. So definitely trying to be a little bit more conservative with that as we move forward. But we will see draft budgets pretty closely finalized at May. Hopefully, we're able to get the May revision LCFF calculator from the state pretty quickly after the governor makes his update, so that we can kind of get all those numbers updated for you. Kicking off the financials, we'll start off with the middle school. So enrollment has stayed steady, kind of went up to 356. Attendance rates hovering right around 94%. And as you saw, I'm going to be talking about month 7, this fiscal month, which ended in middle of March. Because when I got this data from Zari, month 8 was just being finalized and not fully certified, but it's continued to go up. But as you can see there, for the middle school, they were at 334.68 ADA, which was 6.5 points higher than it was the prior month, and it's actually above what we had estimated at P2 the second interim of 329. So a very strong number for the middle school there. And as usual, the middle school has a very healthy balance sheet with tons of days of cash on hand. Revenue in February, they received just over $500,000. Majority of that being a mix of LCFF and other state, which was the ACES apportionment and the remainder of their student support and professional development. ACES apportionment came in later than expected this year, so we weren't sure when it was going to come in. So all kind of big bucket came in February. So that's kind of how it outpaced for that month. On the expenditure side for the middle school, they had about $750,000 in expenses. As usual, the majority of that is in salary and benefits and then operating. But through the year, they're at 67%, so just above where they should be during that time frame. Looking at Vista Heritage, so enrollment still below kind of what we were expecting. Lost about another kid, 348. Attendance rate was strong in February, over 93%. But with the lower enrollment, ADA did go up from the prior month, but just about half a point to 326.05. It is a little bit lower than what we had for the second interim, but as we talked about last month, we are projecting their ADA to kind of drop off because of the lower enrollment they've had for the last couple of months. Balance sheet is healthy though. Cash on hand, $2 million and 91 days cash on hand. Their revenue, they received about $800,000 in February. Again, most of that LCFF and similar to the middle school with ACES apportionment and their last of their student support and professional development grant. On the expenditure side, it's about $811,000. The big one in February, and we talked about it last month, was the property tax that got paid out. So it was paid out in February. It's about $190,000 is what kind of moved the operating up, but we did capture in that second interim. So year to date, they're about 65% of projected expenses. Vista Condor, it's the strongest school in your portfolio for this year. So enrollment continues to thrive at 377. Attendance is above 93%. For that 7th month, they were at 351, which is 11 points higher than they were at in February, and 6 points higher than we had them budgeted at second interim. So they are really flying, doing a great job. And so same thing, very strong balance sheet with 178 days of cash on hand. Revenue, just under $800,000, broken record, but majority of that LCFF and other state revenue, which is also the ACES apportionment and the remainder of their student support and professional development grant. On the expenditure side, $765,000 expenses, and again, they're half of that property tax for operating. So that's kind of what drives them a little bit above that at 71%. But overall, they're on pace. Vista Horizon. So enrollment is steady. The attendance rate, and again, this is month 7. So month 8 unofficial numbers that I received, they're back above 90%. But in month 7, they were kind of trending back up from 86 up to 89. It still led to an ADA about 153, which was almost 8 points higher than they were in February. So heading in the right direction. And then strong balance sheet for Horizon as well, with about 160 days cash on hand. They received just under 300,000 and more on pace with what we were expecting, primarily because they don't have ACES. So there wasn't that kind of big ACES payment that they received. Their monthly revenue was kind of right on track where we were expecting. On the expenditure side, just under $250,000 and are right on pace with 60% of projected expenses so far through February. Palm Lane, so enrollment steady, but still kind of below where we were projecting. Attendance rate had a bump back up, but still trying to get to that 93%. Up 6.4 points from month 6 with 240.16. But that's still lower than we had at second interim, as we are kind of projecting lower because of the lower enrollment the last 3 to 4 months. But their balance sheet's extremely healthy with 422 days cash on hand for Palm Lane. Revenue just under $500,000 at 480. And similar to other schools with ACEs, a big portion of that was other state because of the ACEs apportionment and their student support and professional development grant. Expenditures were just under $400,000, and they're about 60% of projected expenses, so trending really healthy there. Vista Meridian, so lost a kid in enrollment, but pretty steady there. Had a nice bump back up on attendance rate to about 92% and 2 points up from their prior month, now at 214.21 ADA. Cash about $400,000, so about 30 days cash on hand. Revenue just over 440,000 and kind of what we're expecting for Meridian. Expenditures about $430,000, majority of that being salary and benefits and operating expenditures, and they're trending a little bit above, but that's still driven by the major purchases they had at the beginning of the year, the Animal Touch table, etc. Vista Lago, so they actually had a drop off in their attendance rate. The only school that kind of dropped off, they're 100.53, which is 2.5 lower than the prior month, but still kind of trending in the correct direction and trying to get them up to what we projected at 91.94. But they did need another strong month, the 8th month, and they were back up higher than the 100.53. Their revenue, so as a new school, they get very low revenue. So they only got just under $70,000 for February, and about 50% of their projected revenue for the year. Expenditures, $404,000. That was really driven by the payment out of the schematic plans for the facility. So, that will get eventually kind of repaid by facility financing. And then the home office. So this is actuals through February, trending a little bit higher, they're around 70% versus trying to be at 66%. So it is an item we're kind of keeping an eye on. But they've been high all year, mainly by security system computers and other things for the new facility in downtown. And then our regular list of outstanding checks over 50 days, just to make sure it's kind of front and center, and then your check register for March. Thank you.
Go ahead. Michael.
Yeah, thank you, Arturo. Last time I asked, it was just a general question as I'm getting familiar with budgets, doing a good process. And I asked about like cash on hand, when's that an issue? And I think you said, correct me if I'm wrong, like anything less than 30 days is something of concern.
Yep.
And so when I went back to our March presentation, showed that Vista Meridian had 42 days cash on hand. Now they're at 30. We saw there was increase in ADA. Is there anything that we're doing to prepare for that, or do we expect that to be higher next time, right? Or is there anything that we needed to do to make
So
sure that
they're
we don't
going
fall
to be
below?
pretty tight for the rest of the year. We are keeping an eye on it and monitoring versus to see whether they'll need another kind of cash loan from like Palm Lane or the Vista Middle School.
Got it. So that would be the next step if
Correct.
we fell. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions? Juan? So as you start to build the budget for next year with the district, how would you characterize our overall position? I guess I would try to characterize it as stable but concerning because the environment is such.
I would agree. So I think, especially looking at more conservative enrollment in ADA, it's definitely not we're out of trouble year. It's going to be another tight year for a lot of the schools. The schools that are doing really well this year, Condor is pretty healthy. Horizon's pretty healthy. The other schools that kind of struggled with losing enrollment, we're projecting not a lot of growth. So it's trying to maintain, similar staffing levels. It's a little bit difficult right now. And then unsure yet of what the final COLA is going to be from the state to find out what that final financial projection will be. So.
Great. Okay. And then just encouraging, it looks like ADA is coming up in a lot of places. And so that's great news. Attendance rate looks great. It seems like enrollment is kind of somewhat back and forth depending on the schools. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Arturo.
Correct me if this is not appropriate.
No, go ahead.
I'm curious, given, right, that we're going to learn more, right, at the next, because we'll get the budget, the governor's budget proposal, COLA stuff. Is it appropriate that, or I would be excited to hear what we're doing with enrollment at each of our school sites at the next budget meeting, or just as a district in general, because I know we're doing a lot, and it would be helpful to know like what our schools are doing, where maybe we can think about allocating resources, where we're being effective. I don't know if that's an appropriate ask, but just knowing that if we're talking about budgets, enrollment's kind of an issue, instead of just like talking about the numbers, if we had an opportunity to maybe go a little bit deeper, and maybe that request could be in the principal reports for them to share what they're doing with enrollment. It would just be nice to know what's effective and what we're doing so we can try to support, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think we actually have a little bit, we have an item coming up tonight.
Okay.
That is recruitment and renewals that might give you some
might get to that.
additional discussion
All right.
about that particular topic. But that's, yeah, thank you for that. We'll keep track of that note so we can
Okay.
figure out the best way to move forward on it.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Okay, on to 3.4, which is a discussion item on the vision and utilization of artificial intelligence. Do you want to kick this off, Dr. Felch, and then return it back to the board? How do you want to handle it?
Yeah, and I'd like to invite Dr. Simmons, our Director of Instruction, up to frame the conversation.
Great.
Good evening.
Great.
So AI is a huge topic, and it's something that's kind of infiltrated, I think, all of our lives, whether we liked it or not. And so for the purposes of this discussion, I was hoping to kind of share with you where we are at as an organization and what's the skeletal plan to move forward, and then get your input. So we had the good fortune of attending 2 different conferences that addressed AI. One was the Charter School Conference, where several of us went to sessions that had this as a topic. And then we had the opportunity to go to the AI Summit in Anaheim and hear from schools and organizations that have rolled out their system-wide use of the tools. And where we are today is we are pulling together a workforce, a task force representative of all the different schools, teachers, staff, to start building out what that our Vista goals will be aligned to AI. Mario and I have a meeting to discuss the use of AI and cybersecurity to get their input as a team, and then be able to, in many ways, take the lead from Rocket Ship Schools, which had outlined for us a process that they used to collect the input of the different stakeholder groups and come up with a more robust policy and toolbox of resources. On the ground, we know that our teachers are using AI. They're using various platforms on their own, Magic School, ChatGPT. I've introduced some teachers to Google LM. So it's a bit of a free-for-all at the moment. And so one of my hopes in this process is to kind of have a more curated approach and clear articulation of what's the tools, what's the purpose, and what's our end goal with it. We also know that our students have been exploring the use of AI appropriately and not so appropriately. In fact, my math coach this evening pointed out some iReady scores that somehow jumped our fences. And so I told her her new job title is investigator, and she needs to go forth and find out how they did it. So we know that that's, something we're contending with. And then externally in the news, I don't know if you caught the story this morning about how universities are now concerned that students are finishing their degree programs much more rapidly in the virtual online courses that they're taking. And there's a wonder, is it because of the use of AI? So that's kind of where we are. We're very beginning stages. And so I know that Tuan, you've expressed interest in wanting to join the workforce and be part of that. But I would love to hear from your perspective what you're hoping to see as an end product of the workforce and for Vista Charter Public Schools in the future.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so can we just go into discussion with the board then, and then if you'll stand by and,
Yeah.
I mean, you don't need to stand physically,
I-
but
I'm happy to
we
stand.
may
It's okay.
come back to you with some questions and thoughts.
Yeah.
And I know Tuan brought this up, I think last meeting or 2 meetings ago, but has talked about it, and I of course have an interest in it as well, artificial intelligence, and I think this is really an opportunity to look at the evolution of where we as a board see the vision of what we think the things and the guardrails that we can kind of set out for staff to explore through this task force. And so that's kind of the purpose of this time. And I don't think we'll take too much time with this unless people, I don't want to stop anybody, but I want to be cognizant of the fact that this is an initial phase. And the next step to this would be to say, okay, there's a task force going to be in place. How often does the board want to get reports from the task force? What, does that, how often they want to come back to us to give us kind of an update on the process, because they're on the ground doing the real work. Okay. Any other framing that you wanted to mention? Okay. So why don't I just kick it off now? And does anybody want to jump in, or do you want to jump in, or do you want, you want me to?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. So I think for me, from looking at, I'm excited to know that we're going to do a task force. I was at the Rocket Ship CCSA conference item, and I have some friends who work at Rocket Ship, so I'm tracking some of the implementation that they've done. I think that I know we have policy in place that has general behavior on AI and some guidance to staff and students on the use of AI and what that looks like. But I think that from my perspective, I'm excited to see the task force is going to be put into place. I'm interested in understanding who's going to be on the task force, how frequently it's going to meet. I really personally see a number of components of the AI task force or the artificial intelligence that will come in front of us. I was glad to hear you talk about cybersecurity. I think that's something that we as an organization are going to have to look at, because we will generally see more attacks, I assume, over just people trying to grab data and do things that are not appropriate with our enterprise system. I also think that the coordination of what is the governance policy for our staff, and what is the direction of how we all will interoperate with AI as part of what I see. So I see both the operational side, because I think there's a lot of opportunities to save time so that teachers and staff can be focused on instructing our students and the student impact that we can make. And so I'm interested in the operational side. I'm also interested in the classroom side, kind of the rocket ship model of what the classroom side was. I also believe that we will see a lot of integration issues. That was Rocket Ship's experience. So looking at our hardware, our vendors, and how that interfaces together, and whether those, for instance, will our laptops support the student tools that might be available to us? Will our classroom facilities work in a way that allows for multiple people using computers with a verbal, audible call out in the middle of, in the classroom? So those are some of the things I know that Rocket Ship mentioned as barriers and things that they were thinking about. All of those things, I think the task force will be critical to be able to dive into that. But I feel like from what the presentation was tonight, that the guardrails, that part of the whole goal is to put the box together of what the box looks like, because it's moving really rapidly. And so the box is going to be important, because the confinement and the structure is not quite there yet. And it's easy, like you said, jumping the rails for things is going to happen. So how do we keep the box in a way that protects instruction and keeps us focused on the impact for the student in the best way and the best for the organization?
And I think keeping at the core, like the ethics, and really expressing to all the different stakeholder groups, what are the asks that we're having the AI leverage, and where are we drawing the line for safety and security, and also curiosity and creativity. So that's definitely at the core.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's kind of the way I would throw out my thoughts. I don't want to be a single voice. So
No, I was gonna say like AI, it's very easy to implement, but it has to do, we have generally, like even in the corporate world, we have to implement control, guardrails, governance, right? And what we would be looking to do is just to protect the student and the data, the privacy of the school. Those are the most important thing. Now, in terms of AI, there's academic integrity. That's like the biggest concern, right? But whether students can use it or not, in the real world, like in the professional world, so especially like what I do, right? People use it and they use it to augment the skill set. So it's a skill that we should be teaching our students how to do it ethically, right? We should be leveraging these skill set. And then there's three approach, like how do we help the staff and the faculty? How do we help the students? And then the tools can also be used to help the parents, right? Because we have a lot of non-speaking English-speaking parents, but the tools can be used to, it's bilingual, right? It knows multiple languages. And so it can be used by the parents and the teacher to enhance learning. From, you mentioned Rocket Ship. Do they have a curriculum or a program in place?
So they created those three elements: the guardrails, the governance, and then they have a system for how they vet the integration of other technologies. And specific curriculum I haven't yet seen. I think that's this year that they're working on designing it, or something for next year. But they've shared all their tools. They've been really transparent and supportive. So yeah, I don't. I think the curriculum piece is the easiest, because what's really important at the core value is that common understanding around the integrity and ethics to start with, and then leveraging it for all the stakeholder groups as you just mentioned.
And there are a lot of tools to choose from, right? And I know Vista Meridian is looking at list e-cadence, for example, right?
Right.
Do we have experience with that tool and how we're using it?
So I know that Vista Meridian's been working with eCadence for many years. The AI tool specifically, I would have to defer to Jay if he.
Is that just because of knowledge? Like we don't have enough knowledge to use it, or is it because the tool doesn't provide?
It's knowledge.
Okay.
Yes, it's knowledge.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So in terms of roadmap, right? What I would recommend is once you build the team, we do an AI landscape survey, to address, academic integrity, address how we can augment the tool to leverage up the teachers, for example, right? Like how do we reduce admin work, right? And there's going to be a series of questions, but what we need to understand is where we're at the current state, right? And then that could be skill wise. And then as an organization, determine where we want to be in the future state. And it's going to be phases, right? So like, where do we want to be 6 months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now? And AI, for sure, I think everybody will agree, is the future. And we should start developing this roadmap. So once we know like the current state and the phases of future state, then it's easy to build that roadmap.
Right. Exactly. And that is like the roadmap that Rocket Chips provided of, the tool set to look at what your current practices are, and then setting your goals as a group around your common values. So we're very much aligned in that. Yeah.
And then we were talking about budget earlier too. So should we allocate a budget to train up staff as well?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's something that would come in to play once we've uncovered where we're at, and let the task force kind of come to the conclusion of these are the things that we need to develop our skills further, and then look at our professional development budgets to see how do we carve that out.
Yeah, I think, I don't know if you have any more,
No.
but appreciate those questions. I think I'm really excited that we're talking about it. I think to your point, the way that you were even discussing what you've already done in alignment with in terms of the stakeholders going to learn. You already kind of know what's out there. I think what would be really helpful for us to know is like, what are we trying to solve? Right. And so, like, what are our essential questions that we're trying to use AI for? You've already spoken to some of those in what you've shared in your responses. And then once we know what we're trying to solve, that gives us a better, I think, to your point, like roadmap or assessing where we are because AI is so expansive, you could ask questions about it with anything. But I think for an organization to really try to take hold of something, we want to determine, which may change later, but we want to determine for now what we're trying to do with AI to use it as a tool for XYZ. And I haven't heard a lot of innovation, right? Because I think it's important to start with safety, the box, but we also want to use it in terms of elevating student learning and experience in teaching. So I'm excited. You asked a question earlier about like, how often would you like to hear? I would like to hear about it as much as we can, not that much, just because I don't want you also to feel alone, right? And like the committee to feel alone. I feel like it's something that everybody as a district should be approaching and wrapping their arms around. And so whatever we can do to continue to get updated on it and support it, I would like to know. But I would say we first probably want to start with what are our essential questions that we're trying to answer with this task group and solve with AI. Because like you said, we could start talking about different platforms. I know my organization uses Panorama, which now has an AI tool which can create interventions for students, has all of our student data. So it actually can be like a consultant for the district in terms of data and priorities. I think there's so much. And I don't say that I'm not trying to promote that. All I'm saying is I think organizations that take on these challenges well, they identify what are the essential questions and what is this task force trying to solve? Because I know we have already created like an AI policy, which says some of those guardrails, but I think what we're starting to get into is the actual experience of the students and the staff. So I'm really excited, and yeah, I would like to hear about it as much as we can.
That's all.
And this is an exciting topic, and thank you for taking on this really important work. And it's also evolving, right? So, yeah, I just kind of wanted to add on the guardrails dimension. I remember at UCI, earlier in the year, we were aware of this Einstein AI, and then you could just write your paper, right? And thankfully this was taken down. So it's always a constant struggle, right? And in the courses that I'm doing, I kind of tell students that you can brainstorm because I know they will be anyway, right? So you can brainstorm, you can find out about your topic, but I actually want to see your actual language, right? When you're writing the paper and go to the main sources. So that kind of, I mean, at school level, it's of course, how do you kind of define those guardrails and to keep the use ethical? And I think so that task force, I think, yeah, just keeping up with all the tools that are coming and being open to it from the teacher's side, but also making sure that they can still be creative, look up sources. And I think sometimes we also say spelling, you can check. Right? So that's kind of, because you're going to be online anyway. So, but what are the limits and where we are going to be watching you, that kind of thing. So just wanted to share that.
Yeah, one of the highlighted documents that Rocket Ship shared with us is a tool for how to vet other tools. And so, some of those key questions to determine what do we want to incorporate, what is like beyond and not necessary, because there's a lot of bells and whistles out there that when you get down to the core, it's not necessarily about learning and teaching. So that's part of what the group will really work towards. So
Yeah, and I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I also think as you think about these task force and new type of a rollout is figuring out who's excited about it and maybe starting to pilot it with a certain group so we can learn from that, because I don't want perfect to be enemy of the good, right? I think part of what we're going to try to do is learn from experience. And so any type of, after we get the questions, we kind of get people together, we have a roadmap, really seeing where we can start to pilot some stuff and learn from it as we try to explore. Because what I would hate to see is that next year we're like, we've been talking about it, right? But I want to do it safely, but also knowing that I think we do have people, like you said, that are already using it. Can we do that in a way where we can learn from what they're doing to apply it across?
great.
Yeah, I'll just add a couple quick more comments. So I know I'm on board with the academics, the ethics, the integrity of it. I think the idea of how we would proceed with that, though, is that it's going to become increasingly impossible to determine how artificial intelligence has been used by both teachers, staff, parents, students, because everything has that ability. And so the question is, can you, again, the box allows for the ability to control the acceptable uses or what's limited in the enterprise system that we can utilize. So if there's a box, if there's an agentic kind of box that allows you to put that in so that the core is everybody's using the same tools, they're not using the outside tools that might expose, for instance, I mean, they're easy things like a lot of stuff that we may be using now in our system could jeopardize our ability to keep the student data protected.
Right.
So those are the kinds of things that we're going to have to figure out how to scope out and lock down, as well as how do the students learn and how can we use it to enhance their learning, not stop them from learning or have them not think that they need to learn, which is possible as well. So I think that's the other part I was going to just add, the one thing I do think that we should have our task force looking at is a national search or a search of what's out there educationally right now, because there are a lot of programs that everybody's going through this, but there are some programs that are further ahead. And I don't think I don't feel like I have a good grasp on what is working and what is absolutely not working and what might be working today, but might not work tomorrow. And those are all things that we're probably going to need to consider.
Absolutely.
So, any other last comments?
Yeah, is there a roadmap for the AI task force team?
So we have our volunteers. They've been notified that they're on it, and we just need to set up our first date to meet in the next month. And then from there, we'll have a roadmap mapped out. So
Okay, so you're planning to meet within the first month?
we're planning
Oh,
to
the
have
next
a
month.
free meeting
Yeah.
before the end of the year, so that we can leave for summer with some ideas to research and bring back and be able to hit the ground running at the beginning of the year next year.
Okay, so in terms of timeline, the AI task force, they won't start till the beginning of next year.
Well, it's starting, yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll start, next month in May, and we'll have our first meeting, and then we'll have a summer meeting, and between those two, and work in between with Mario and myself, we'll have a clearer roadmap in place.
So when would you suggest that we ask you to return to the board? When would be good for?
I mean, I can share with you the report from our initial meeting, so you'll see who is on board, and then our tentative focus, and priorities to start with, and then I'm happy to add a report each month.
And it seems like something that might be relevant towards the beginning of the year, or maybe at the board retreat, to look at what that roadmap looks like after these first like 1 or 2 meetings.
Perfect.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
That'd be great. Okay.
Yeah. So I think my primary concern is if you space out the meetings over a long period of time, then you lose a lot of momentum.
Yeah. I mean, one of the challenges is it's with teachers, so
They're busy.
they have a lot on their plates,
Yeah.
and so they have a keen. Those who are on the committee have a keen interest in it, just on their own. So yeah, there will be a lot of work in between that to keep it going.
Totally understandable.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, well, thank you, right, for presenting and listening to us, right, and seeking our input. And just know that, yeah, you might lose some momentum, but the fact that you're meeting with people before the end of the year is actually great, right, with schools. And so would love to hear something maybe at the board retreat to go a little bit deeper. But again, appreciate you hearing us.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. With that, I will move on to the action items 4.1. This is a Prop 39 final facilities use agreement for Vista Horizon Global Academy. And I guess they're both related to that. Anything you want to add before we?
No, we are good with the final offer that LAUSD provided with us and looking forward to continue to expand Vista Horizon.
Great. Okay. I'll look for a motion.
A motion?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion, questions? No? All right. We'll go ahead and vote. All in favor? Aye.
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 Okay, that's 4-0. Now moving on to 4.2. This is the Palm Lane Facilities Use Agreement. Any staff comment?
So the Palm Lane Facilities Use Agreement is very, very similar, almost identical to last year. We were going back and forth just on a few insurance items. We actually share the same insurance company, ASKIP, with Anaheim Elementary School District. The price per square foot, the pro rata share went up a tiny bit, like 20 cents per square foot, but that's typical just with inflation.
Okay. A motion?
Motion.
Second?
Okay, motion and a second. Discussion? Okay. I had a question, but lost it. So we'll go ahead and take the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that passes 4-0. Moving on to 4.3. Submission of material revision for Palm Lane Academy Charter Petition to the Anaheim Elementary School District. Dr. Felch?
Yeah, so we really see an opportunity. This comes from year after year, parents at Palm Lane who are culminating in 6th grade, not wanting to leave Palm Lane because they love the school community. And we really see a unique opportunity, especially with the campus there at Palm Lane, to expand through 8th grade to serve our parents for 2 additional years. The material revision that we're proposing would go into effect beginning the 27-28 school year. So not for next year, but the following year, starting with 7th grade, and then the year after that, 8th grade.
Okay. And tonight we're just accepting the submission, or
It's for the submission of the material revision and authorizing myself to submit it to the district when it's completed.
okay. I'll take a motion.
Motion.
Second?
Okay. Discussion, questions? I'll just say that, I'm very excited about the fact that the opportunity to expand to the K-8 system overall. I think you're doing it the smart way from the documents I've read, expanding it the way you are in the grade levels. And I hope that will allow us to then continue to operate on that campus in a way that, enhances that community, which is our biggest goal. And so hopefully it will get us even more deeply connected to the community, which is already happening. So, okay. Take a vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that passes 4-0. Okay, moving on to 4.4, local assignment authorization for Kevin Milburn.
Yeah, so this we have found a really strong art teacher at Vista Meridian, and through observations and by all accounts, he's been wonderful. In his current capacity, he's been teaching as a long-term substitute because his credential is a CTE credential. Currently, the Meridian art classes are coded as classes that require a single subject art credential. We are working on coding them for next year to be part of a CTE pathway for digital media. Yep, digital media arts. So this really comes down to a class coding issue. We obviously did not want to change the coding mid-year because students are already midway through the class. But we believe that he is a high-quality teacher. He holds a full CTE credential. It's just these specific classes are coded as requiring a single subject art credential instead of a CTE credential. And we do have Dr. Rial and Mr. Prano who are here and can speak more about the CTE pathway as well as the observations of Mr. Milburn.
Okay. I'll look for a motion.
Motion.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Discussion?
I
Questions?
appreciate the data, right? And the walkthrough data. It seems like we've we've had one to remind the board that we've had this happen in the past. But to me, it seems like this is a slam dunk, no brainer. Last 2 months of the school, and knowing that we're going to transition the courses for next year to be coded correctly, seems like the right move. And we shouldn't be using this authority a lot, right? But in terms of this process, it seems like I'm in favor of it.
Great. Other discussion questions? Anything? Yeah, I'm also on board, and I know this is, I do think we need to continue to hold these as special situations, and I'm very happy to see staff taking that as their charge to make sure that these are not things we would just be issuing and coming to the board to issue. Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that passes 4-0. All right, ELOP Transportation Dispatcher 4.5, job description and pay scale. Dr. Felch.
Yes, so this is, I think, long overdue. So our transportation, specifically in Santa Ana, really start as early as like 5:30, 6 in the morning on a daily basis. And then our drivers really don't finish until sometimes 7 to 8 at night. And so we only centrally have one transportation coordinator. So if there are any parent phone calls or changes in routes or issues anywhere in those pretty much 14 hours of the day, all the calls go directly to one person. So he's essentially on call 14 hours a day. Um, this position would essentially be an after school transportation dispatcher from 3 o'clock on. So essentially from like 3 to about 7 or 8 o'clock. And this would just help bridge that. So our transportation coordinator can work normal hours. And it's all it's funded through ELOP.
Great. Okay. Any motion?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Questions?
I just think it really makes sense, and it's also a safety issue, I think, and of course the person's part. So
Great. Okay. All in favor? Aye.
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 Okay, carries 4-0. Moving on to 4.6, travel costs for the California Charter School Development Center Conference. Anything?
Yeah, so this would be for both Ms. Maya and myself to attend the CSDC conference. Next year, it's up in Sacramento. This past year, we had more people go because it was local, but this really helps us stay in touch with pertinent fiscal and legislative items and continue to really be serve a prominent role within the charter world in California.
Great, thank you. Is there a motion?
motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Discussion, questions? Sounds like the right thing to do. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that's 4-0. Moving to the next conference, which is the AXA Leadership 4.7 Summit in Chula Vista, and Dr. Felch.
Yeah, so this would be for me specifically to attend the AXA Leadership Summit. It's in Chula Vista in November. I'm an AXA member. I have never actually attended this leadership summit, and multiple other charter leaders that I connect with through CCSA and so on throughout the state have mentioned that I should be attending this, both for the content and networking, but also because within AXA, there needs to be more charter school representation statewide. So I do think that this would be a good idea for me to attend, learn, but also really see if this is something that more of our administrators might want to attend in the future.
Okay, is there a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any questions, discussion?
No, just a note. I really appreciate, right, that you are consistently sending folks, even ourselves, to the CCSA conference. I think it's important to continue to learn. I think it would be great to just maybe make it a standing item in the superintendent report that anytime that we're sending folks or that you're attending, that we get some updates on that and whether it was worth it, whether it's something that we want to take away, just because, again, I'm a huge proponent of the learning that should be happening for our leaders and our staff. I also think we need to have due diligence of figuring out what we're taking away from these events. Sometimes it's really tangible, sometimes it's not, but just any updates that we can give from those conferences would be really helpful.
Yeah, great idea.
Anything else? And I'll just say on the AXA overall purpose, AXA does represent policy in the state and does make recommendations that impact our schools. And so anything, I think there's going to become a cut bait kind of moment with AXA because it's a fairly expensive membership. And, it's time for AXA to know that the charter leader AXA members really work for organizations that are helping students and that it needs to be a unified force to impact and help students in the state of California, and that AXA should be representing those values as well. And so I'm happy to see us go, and I hope we will work with the rest of the charter leaders to professionally communicate that position to the leadership and their structure. So I know it's partly learning, but I think the even more important point for this one is, will they stand with students, all students? So, okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that passes 4-0. All right, 4.8. Dr. Velch.
Yes. So as we are preparing for upcoming renewals and also as 6 of our 7 schools are grantees of the Community Schools Grant, and also listening to the board feedback over the past few months regarding making sure that we are getting out there and effectively telling our story and amplifying the great work that we are doing. We started to look into some potential partners and vendors that could assist us with that. A group of us interviewed a few organizations, and from those interviews, we feel most confident, and actually it was unanimous from the interview group that we would like to move forward with and recommend to the board to approve the consulting proposal for Hugo Hernandez Consulting to work with our parents, work with our community school coordinators, work with our administrators on doing exactly that, really telling our story and amplifying the great work that we're doing at Vista, and helping our parents learn how to do the same thing and telling their story about why they want to attend Vista and so on. And if there's anybody, I know I was part of a group in that interview panel, but a few of us were there as well. So you can feel free to, share your experience and why you would recommend going with Hugo.
So I had the pleasure of meeting Hugo a few times and learning more about his story, learning more about his work with the Alliance schools, and the vantage point that he's coming from, I believe, is a gap that we as an organization have. And what he'll bring to us is not only the support to empower parents, to help educate parents about what charter schools are and the importance of policies and the importance of being present and representing us in board meetings, not just our board, but the boards that recognize our schools. But he'll also give us a toolbox. And I envision that once we have a few people part of our team trained and really invested, we'll have this toolbox that we'll then be able to, without Hugo, be able to share with the rest of the organization and maybe beyond. So that was one huge piece of what I believe Hugo will be able to deliver on. The other is his very genuine interest in developing another toolbox around political will and the politicking nature that we in the charter school world really have to be keen and aware of. He can't charge us for that. So he's really clear that he's not, but he wants to work with us in partnership to develop that type of toolbox as well. And I see that that is an area that, particularly again, the message from CCSA, we need to get more savvy about, not just in the local arenas that we serve, but state and national level as well, so that there is more awareness that we are serving the same population of our district schools and we are meeting the needs and probably going beyond the needs of our students. And so that's an area that I feel like in partnership with him, we'll be able to develop that and also be able to share it beyond. So I was impressed by Hugo and I felt like he would be a huge asset on a short-term contract to help us.
Okay, is there a motion?
Can I
Motion?
ask a question?
Yeah, we have, so yes, but we have to do a motion to put it on the discussion topic. So,
I motion.
okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Second? Okay, so go ahead, ask your question.
Yeah, now I was just looking at the proposal. Thank you for the explanation. I see there's like a 12-month window for the proposal. And I think at the end of it, like what success looks like 10 to 15 confident parent speakers, and then, kind of, and yeah, so it's kind of looking into 50 to 75 parents to 10 to 15. So how would that be kind of identified? I'm just have a quick overview. So how would you decide which parents are going to be representing? And also like there's a number of workshops that are being planned. So are these going to be all the parents who will be attending in person, or is it online, or what is kind of the thinking?
Okay, play rock, paper, scissors, come up with something.
Great questions. So our coordinators, the community school coordinators at each of the school sites will be our main conduit to the parent populations. And they will it'll be open to everybody, all the parents to attend. There'll be several iterations of these workshops that Hugo will lead and then eventually be co-facilitating and then be eventually watching our coordinators facilitate and be able to give feedback on that process. As far as which parents, yes, they will be in person. So the idea is that parents would come to our school sites. And so our job is to get them there. And it's an open forum. All parents will be invited to attend. So there's not a selection process of just these parents. And it's through the constant messaging and parents showing up that they'll rise to the occasion to see who will be our spokespeople.
That'll be iterative process.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other, I have unfortunately have a bunch of questions.
Yeah,
but
me
Go
too.
ahead.
But I just want to stance. I think that you hit it on the head for something that we're missing as an organization that can really partner to help elevate. We spoke a little bit at CCSA conference about that, about really recognizing that we're part of a movement of charter schools to advocate and to elevate. I would agree though that in terms of, at least when I looked at the success, what does it look like? It would be great to know if this passes at some point quarterly or because it can sound really great, right? Like we're going to get 20 to 30 trained parent advocates. It'd be good to know what the attendance is and that process, but it seems really exciting. And based upon what you've shared in the proposal, it seems right to me. I do have a question though for the board, and it's something that stuck out with me with Mario's proposal last time in terms of vendors and selection. In terms of, I know you said that you met with folks, but I think it would be really helpful to see the numbers of that when we are selecting a vendor. I don't know if we have a process that we're maybe skipping by selecting this vendor without it. Doesn't seem like it, but I know it'd be helpful as the board to be able to know that, hey, we spoke with these folks. This was their, because you shared what you like about Hugo. It's just also important, I think, that we can see the other bids when we make a budgetary decision to go with a certain vendor. Does that make sense?
So we did meet with another group,
Yeah.
and this decision wasn't necessarily this person is cheaper or better.
Mhm.
Erica left, but Erica's actually gone to Ugo's parent group at the Alliance. And we felt like Ugo was more aligned to the work that we needed done. The other group that we met with was trying to pass on the work, trying to get us to pass on the work to them rather than empowering our parents. So I guess my question to you is, when you say that, do you want to see like a cost line by line, or what is it that you're hoping to see
I
for
think it's
this specifically?
Yeah, I think it's, and that's the question maybe for the governance of the board. I think it's helpful to know cost by line. I know what Hugo had shared last, or not, Mario, not Hugo, we're talking about, but Mario had shared last time was helpful, right? And I don't think that it's, you necessarily, we're not going to go with just what the cost is, but what is our decision making that is easily digestible for us to know, yep, we're going with this vendor because this is what, we
Right.
did our due diligence
Right.
and this is our selection. Because it sounds like what you've already done, it would just be good to see, I think, in paper and contrast somehow. And that's all I'm really
I
asking
think the
for.
issue,
Yeah.
I think for this specific proposal, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, it wasn't really an apples to apples. The two groups that we were looking at were proposing different things, and we realized this is the one that we needed. One was an orange, one was an apple, and we
Yeah.
needed an apple.
Yeah, and I think just knowing what the orange was,
Yeah, okay.
right? Or just a little bit and that's submitted to the board that we can review. That's helpful. I
Sure.
think hearing the testimonies, it sounds like you really did your due diligence. Again, it's aligned to the stuff. It's a question for board governance in terms of whenever we select a vendor to be able to know what was offered, even if it's not apples to apples. So we know that, yeah, we're financially putting money in a place where we looked at our options. Is that
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So this is
Yeah.
part of like vendor management. And we generally want to see is like, how did you vet out the vendors? Is it more than two? Is it three? What are the pros and cons? Did you do background check, get referrals? So then you would list like, I guess these are the three vendors you vetted, and then why we chose this one. It should be pretty clear.
Yeah, and I don't know, Colin, we have something that's already there, but I know that, I have some old documents that we can share. Just maybe this is something that we can add to another board discussion, just like vendor selection and what is our process, because I think, again, you're not always going to have the same comparison
Right.
of like, but we're still selecting vendors to serve a need. And so it's good to just make sure that we're financially making those decisions in a way that doesn't open us up to liability in terms of oversight and selection. So I don't know if it's a question
That makes
directly
sense.
for
Yeah.
you.
I,
Question, right?
yeah, I think, and I don't want to drift too
Yeah.
far from the actual
Yes.
item tonight, just because not on the agenda that way, but I think what I'm hearing is that the board is, would like us to look at the process and structure of how you bring contracts to the board
Yep.
when you're doing vendor selections. And some of the things that I heard were like, how did we list how did we list this opportunity for people so that they were aware of it? Who was responsive and non-responsive? If we ended up with nobody being responsive except for one person, those are kinds of things that you hear a lot in these kinds of processes. So those are the process things that I think we would leave in your hands. But it sounds like that's a concern that's overall that we'd like you guys to look at. And so now if we can go back to more, yeah, no, I'm glad you did it. I think we need to have that conversation. I just want to target us back. So now if we go back to this item, we have a motion and a second on the table. Other questions you wanted to ask?
I just had one more, Alyssa. When you said it was at the end, Alyssa's working with LACO and OCD to hopefully fund this work to community schools. It seems like it's a direct alignment to community schools work. Do we feel like that's
Yeah.
we're hopeful?
Definitely. It is definitely in line with the community schools work because it's all about amplifying voices of our community, parent, and student engagement. And it's part of the needs assessment. And so our community school coordinators at each site create the needs assessment, and it's in alignment.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it sounds great because that's going to be the direct liaison. It seems like something that connect to all the
And
schools.
one thing that's really powerful about this particular proposal is we're kind of using the train the trainer model. So the goal is to not retain Ugo, but to no longer need him, right? Like he's going to teach us how to build capacity within our parents and also within our staff, right? Like our coordinators don't know how to teach parents necessarily how to tell their story, but they're going to get the toolbox. So
I have a quick question. So I see there's a quarterly review process with the Vista leadership. So who is doing the reviewing?
I think Mara and I are working in tandem. Just because there's a little bit of overlap, and like I oversee the community coordinators, but also Mara works closely with the principals. So it's just kind of a lot of it is to do with, yes, building capacity, but also building our story and telling our story for the renewal. So that's the connection there.
Anything before I go? Are you meeting monthly? Oh, go down, Mike.
I think we're bi-weekly. We had our preliminary call last week to kind of outline what our work might look like if we were to work together. And the idea would be to bi-weekly meet, and then he would show up to the coffee with the principals, and then the coordinators have a monthly meeting. And then a lot of the workshops the goal would be to do them over the summer because parents are still around, and we don't need teachers to do these workshops. So parents and coordinators are around, but goal for him to meet with us is bi-weekly. And then the coordinator, he'll be at the coordinator monthly meeting, and then any other meetings that are necessary.
And assume you will provide monthly board meeting updates.
100%. That's what you want. Yep.
Yeah.
For sure.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay. So I am super excited. I heard, let's talk about the gap. And I think that's dead bang on. So when we talk about parent engagement, advocacy, empowerment of the parents, renewals, the value of the community that we have at Vista, all of those things I'm super supportive of. And I think we are right now in a place where we need to accelerate our work on how we connect to the community and engage them, get these, what we used to call them charter champions when we did the work, and how we identify those people and get the folks that are the biggest and best organizers for both the recruitment strategy and the renewal strategy. We were talking about recruitment earlier, which is what, which is the item that I think most talks about the enrollment piece that you were mentioning. So for me, all of those things make a ton of sense. I will, and it's not really under the board's purview to go into the depth of the details of the strategies or the how we get there. But what I want to talk about more tonight is whether we're ready to receive the consulting that we're getting, and whether we have the infrastructure and systems in place. For example, I see in the project that he has a CRM. He refers to CRMs and having essentially a contact management system, but I'm not aware if we have any way to track that information in our systems.
So can I add one thing when you're
Sure, go ahead.
I think one thing to note is when you build capacity of parents, there's this interconnectivity around recruitment. So I hear what you're saying with the CRM, but I'm not sure that we're there yet for that component. So I agree with you in the sense that we're building the capacity to get there. The initial capacity is really to focus on telling the parents' story so that those parents can then recruit for us.
Totally get it. Again, the concern is, or what I'm trying to learn is the systems and structures we have in place. So when I hire an electrician for my house, I have some idea of how to do electrical work in my house. The electrician, I wouldn't want the electrician to come give me a toolbox and say, hey, go do this, even though I might be trained by him at one workshop, how to do the electrical work. And so that's just my kind of visual for analogy that I want to be careful of, because workshops are great. There's a whole structure on how we're going to get those students and parents to the workshops, how successful we're going to be at that, how we're going to track who arrived, how we're going to track who became those champions. Those are all things that are probably in our systems and structures that we need to be ready to address. And that's what I'm trying to learn from staff, is whether we're ready to receive that. Because again, you know, we did 2 renewals this year. We had fabulous speakers at Palm Lane and at Condor. And if Debbie wasn't here tomorrow, I don't know how, if we have the ability to get those people back, or where is that person in our contact management system? What is that person doing in the future? How is that person engaging other parents now for the recruitment process at Palm Lane? Is that something they desire to do? Those are the things that we may have systems in place that I don't know about, but those are the things that I would like to better understand so that when we spend money on an outside consultant, right? I mean, consultants are great, but being a consultant, you can give lots of great advice. You can do a lot of great work and walk out the door and none of it gets implemented. And you spend money that was valuable. I mean, you got value out of it, so it was not badly spent. But how are you going to integrate that into your systems and structures so that everything that we're doing for parent organizing and building that, you know, global citizenship? So those are the things that I'm trying to learn about from you all, just to make sure when we potentially vote on this now that we get there. So that's what I'm trying to learn. Sure, please.
So I think in general, we have general systems for like learning and reinforcement. For starters, I think it's an embedded culture around, you know, working with consultants to wean them off, to build the capacity to be able to wean them off. I think currently our systems probably exist more in the instructional domain. So this, I think, would definitely be a work in progress, but I think we have models where, you know, like, for example, the reason why there's monthly coordinator meetings is because, similar to principal meetings and just bringing these groups of people together to collaborate and learn together. So it was kind of like one system came because we see how effective it is with this group, so we want to replicate it with this other group. So I think similarly, it's that same type of thing. Some obviously are more developed than others, and this would be something that's new. But I think those things exist where we could support the new initiative within the same structures that we have, and potentially develop new ones, because it is a different group of people, because parents are a different type of, you know, stakeholder with different demands with regards to time and things like that. But I think with regards to the community school coordinators, that one, it seems like there are structures in place that might just need more development, but not necessarily that. But I think the system is there. And then I think with parents, you know, there's definitely a learning curve, but I think this would be something that would support that, both that learning curve and then our own development of how do we translate the system that has worked in this area to this other one.
Okay.
Yeah, because to me, it sounds like there is some structure, right, already in systems in place with the community schools managers. They meet monthly. It's aligned to their role and their need assessment. But I hear you on that. And I also think that we're getting excited. And maybe it was the AI talk, right? Where we're like, what about this? What about this? I think it was good that you named that our role is not to get in the weeds of the actual management of the thing. It's just that we kind of, with any new vendor, with any new process, I think those are good questions. I like that we were like monthly, but I don't think we necessarily need a monthly update. But if there's going to be a quarterly review and it's a new process, it would be good to get an update when you do that quarterly review to really know whether this is working or not in progress. That would make me feel better about jumping in.
Yeah, and I the frequency of the board, coming back to the board, I'm comfortable with whatever you all decide. So yeah, thank you. And I understand. I just I want to make sure as we're evaluating that we're looking for the long-term infrastructure building. And that means people need to be all in internally. The consultant will be all in. And maybe not, but I bet the consultant will be all in. It's, can we deliver parents to the parent meeting? Can we elevate the training of our community specialists to do their work, right? And those are the things. Can we, after they leave, will we be able to have that person tell that story? Because we do have, I mean, we've got Horizon and we've got, the strategies are right. We have 2 upcoming renewals in LA, and they should be a slam dunk, but no renewal is ever a slam dunk, and we need to do that. And we have recruitment where we know that enrollment is going to continue to be something where we want to build that community. And our whole mission is around, you know, global involvement and being global citizens. And part of being a global citizen is the advocacy, engagement, empowerment, right? So this is a natural fit for us, but we can't just, my concern again is that we can't hire one consultant for a 12-month period with a few strategies and feel like we're going to be done and get there. And so I just want to make sure we're in it for the long run, and that we'll support it and have a plan, timeline. Like, part of my other questions are, what's the timeline? How does the timeline fit with the consultant and our renewal timeline?
Yeah, and I think I just wanted to add one last thought.
Sure.
I think the really powerful thing about the pilot of this consultant, because it is almost like a pilot, right? Like that's why it's just such a short contract, because for at least for us, we got a pilot to make sure that we can really continue that. Like, I love the idea of the timeline. What's the timeline afterwards, and what's the continued forward path? The beautiful thing though is where we're piloting this work is in Los Angeles. Our parent engagement at those schools is a packed house. The community coordinator, the coffee with the principals, we always, the last Friday we ran out of chairs. We were going downstairs to bring up chairs. So I think we will get the parents. It's now figuring out how to replicate that.
Okay, that gives me more questions than answers, but sorry.
Sorry.
Eh,
Building on that though is also, you know, it is a packed house. And then what, right? So it's the empowering that next step and helping to shape what that next vision is, which is part of the community schools greater plan, but it's that skill set that we're kind of missing, and that's where he falls in.
Great. Okay.
And I would also add that the timeline is really important with this decision too, because we're planning to submit Horizon's petition to LAUSD in July, which means if we do that, the public hearing would be in September and the decision would be in October. So if the board approves this tonight, the work is beginning and the planning is tomorrow. So we're not waiting on this. And with the next coffee with the principal and community school coordinator meeting, like this would start right away. But it's not just about Horizon's renewal in the next 6 months. The year later, we have 3 renewals. We obviously have Vista Charter Middle School, but we also have Heritage and Meridian here. And so really working to build the capacity, not only for the here and now with Horizon, but to make sure that the larger group is ready to go when we are gearing up for the 3 renewal year in 27, 28.
Yeah, and I think what I think would be helpful for me, and I'll look for nodding heads from the other board members, is to have the renewal strategy is a part of this work, but the renewal is so much the timeline for the renewal is a lot more specific, with lots more tasks and strategies that go on top of this piece of that strategy. And it is also, the other piece of parent engagement work is making them successful, the people we engage and empower. And so there's a whole backdrop of how do we do that. And so from my perspective, it would be helpful for us to think about, or have the board see kind of what you see the timeline being, and maybe some of the behind the scenes of what that looks like to accomplish the renewal, right? Because this is one component of that whole process. So I don't know if other board members would be interested in knowing a little bit more about the renewal process, but I think that would be good for us to understand what the whole timeline looks like for Horizon and what we think those interjection points are, because I know I was able to speak at some of our hearings and being a little bit engaged, but we may need other board members to play that role in Los Angeles and also play that role in general. So, okay. Okay, thank you. Sorry for the long talk. We have a motion and a second on the floor. I'll take the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, that passes. Okay, we're moving on to 4.9, the updated business HR manager job description and salary scale.
Yeah, so this is really, and you're going to hear this with this item and the next item. This is expanding the work year of the business and HR manager from 232 days to 248 days, keeping the same daily rate. So it is a little bit of a salary bump, but it is relatively negligible in terms of the budgetary impact because this year we've been paying a lot of extra pay for these positions to work over like spring break or winter break because there are employee questions, whether employees are doing taxes and need forms and so on. So the work needs to be done. This just provides more clarity within the work year for that.
Great. Okay, do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second? Second, Sarat? Okay, great. All right, motion and second on the table. Any discussion, questions? Not for me. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. 4.10, similar. I'm not going to make you repeat all that if you don't mind. I'll take a motion if there's a motion.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, motion and second. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, we're moving to 4.11, revisions of the VCPS bylaws.
Yes, and so I'll also give the caveat that for the next two action items, even though they're different documents, they're the same explanation. And so as we were going through and updating the Palm Lane material revision, working with our legal counsel on that, they recommended that as we are making updates, we should also update our bylaws and our do an amendment to the certificate of or the articles of incorporation because of some updates that for a CalSTRS certification. There's been some work or some updates in Sacramento coming out of CalSTRS, and so we want to make sure that our bylaws are reflecting those.
Okay, there a motion?
Motion.
Okay, second.
Second.
Okay, motion and second. Discussion, questions, anything?
Just wondering how long this is going to be effective, this updated bylaw.
It's from here on out, so it would be into effect until the board makes any other further changes.
Thank you.
Yeah, and the board bylaws, I didn't see any changes that were being made that were problematic, but I do think this is something that we should pay some particular attention to as they come to us. And I know we've made about 3 or 4 times since I've been on the board changes to the bylaws that have been fairly minor, but it's always a good reminder. So hopefully you all had a chance to read through them fairly thoroughly. For example, there's some couple items on there that I saw. I was like, well, we need to be following our bylaws. So I'll be, following up on some of those that I saw. Yeah.
Yeah. Just the last page, I saw that the certificate of secretary, that's like August last year. So that's going to be updated, or the last page of the bylaws.
Yeah, so we voted for Michael as our secretary. So that's just going to be updated in the
That's
dates,
coming
right?
next month.
Next month, right.
I was hoping to have it in time for this board meeting, but unfortunately it came Friday night, and so it wasn't in enough time. So it'll come to the next board meeting. I'll leave it as a secret right now. No, so Susie really acts as our board secretary. We were just trying to clarify if the board secretary can be a non-board member, and in fact, it can be.
It can be. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Any other questions, discussion? Okay. I'll take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, that carries 4-0. On to 4.12, I think we just had this discussion from staff. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion, questions? Anybody see anything they wanted to comment on? Okay, all in favor? Aye.
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 Okay, I heard 4, so 4-0. All right, moving on to board comments. Number 5. When I start on the left.
I have no.
Okay, thank you. Anything?
No, this was very helpful session, but yeah, no specific comments.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually just have a comment. I really appreciated the discussion in this board meeting. I think you're doing a fabulous job facilitating, keeping us on track. And once again, just a huge shout out to Vista Charter Middle School for getting recognized by LACO. But ultimately, I feel like the wonderful thing about what's happening across that school and a lot of our schools is continued leadership. You've been telling a story, and really excited to be invited to some of your events that you have at the end of the year, but I haven't been doing a good enough job getting on site. And so if I haven't been to your school site, please continue to invite me, because it's more than just the data and the story as we try to do our best to govern and make decisions. So thank you all for your efforts, and yeah, appreciate you guys.
Yeah, and I really wanted to just thank everybody for the visits I did this month. It was something that I got to see as our instruction at like Vista Charter Middle School last month or 2 months ago. And it brought me some questions about how we do our reflections on teacher instruction and how we support our teachers who need a lot of, who are great, but need to continue to have support and align with our processes. So thank you, Ms. Amaya, for taking me out there and showing me how you all do that. And, I got to spend the morning over at Meridian, and just again, the vibrance on that campus when you walk on. I got there a little bit early, so I got to see our principal in action, and all the students coming in and asking for all kinds of counseling and advice, not serious issues that they need to address that I might think are kind of normal issues, but it was great to see just the familiarity and the comfort that the students had to just come in and talk about life and check in, and the trust and camaraderie that was there from the principal through the staff is amazing. And then I got to see the instruction and the way that we, what we're doing as far as giving evaluation, or not evaluation really, but just look fors and trying to understand how the Kagan principles are being embedded into the classroom. And, you see it everywhere because of the great leadership that our team has had and the training that's going on by the principals, leadership team, Ms. Simmons and Ms. Amaya and Dr. Felch. So thank you for that. Then I got to go over to Vista Heritage and Vista Condor and spend some time with their staff and teachers. And again, you walk in the door and the smiles come up, people engage you and say hello. And, I always try to kind of go in low key, so because not everybody knows who I am, and I try to be that parent looking for a school, but they're pretty amazing how the staff greets you. And then I will just call out, like, we saw some great instruction during the day. But our kindergarten teachers, I hope that the feedback went back to them, that I was like, wow, like we are now going to see fabulous growth in first, second, third, fourth as these kindergarten class goes through, because the instruction that's happening at the kindergarten in Vista Condor was, I thought, pretty exceptional. And while I'm not an instructionally based person, I've been in a lot of classrooms and seen the students engaged on task, but in a way that they're asking questions, being allowed to make mistakes and being told that making mistakes is part of the learning process. Those kinds of things. It was great to see that in action and to see that from the team. So thank you for that. And thank you for that. So I'm super excited about what is all being accomplished. I'm looking forward to the state testing. I know it's coming quickly, and looking forward to all the progress that I think we'll see in our scores. And And I know that's not the marker of all that is meaningful either. So I just seeing people caring about our students and people really making sure that their lives are better by coming to our schools really matters to me. And that's evident everywhere you walk. So thank you for that time. And then question for Pomlane, sorry, Thursday is not Wednesday for the Arbor. Okay, just making sure I got that right in my head. Okay, and so with that, I think we'll head off into closed session. We'll say goodnight to those of you that feel that you will like to leave, and we'll be back to adjourn after closed session. So thank you for being here tonight, and it's been a pleasure to see you all. Okay, let me convene us back into open session from closed session. There are no reportable items to report from closed session tonight, and we will look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor of adjourn?
Aye.
Okay, it is 7:49 and we are adjourned till our next meeting. Thank you.